the first thought that comes to my mind when I think of Buenos Aires and the life there, you think, ah, cha 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 cha, because things are moving. They are moving, and people are excited, and especially in the capital. I mean, it's similar to New York City, where buses, taxis, people honking, people yelling, people on the street. You always got to cover your pockets. Like, yeah, it's a wild life there. You get different lifestyles though as well, because you can be in the city and have that. You can also be in kind of like I guess you call it like the more moderate zone, which is kind of just like a town, and it's a little more peaceful. You don't, you still are careful, but people will say hi to you on the street, and it's really nice. A lot of dirt roads. There's usually like a big plaza, a park. It doesn't have swings or anything, but it's like a park where there's like a fountain and a government symbol, and that's kind of the central of the town, and it's nice and laid back. And then you can find the ghettos, which are muddy and dirt roads and houses made out of metal sheets, sometimes cinder blocks, and a lot of crazy things there as well. Just different lifestyles, really, but really nice people. Even the gangs, actually. By the way, in Buenos Aires, there's a lot of gangs. It used to be run by kind of a mafia, and so just so you know, the gangs respect the missionaries for the most part. Even the most dreaded and dangerous gang owns kind of this area on one side of the freeway. It's a pretty incredible sight. On one side of the freeway, you have extreme poverty. On the other side of the freeway, you have skyscrapers. And so on this side of the freeway, where the mafia is, missionaries go in there, and you go into the area, and they take your picture on the phone. They send that around, and with their communicating systems, they know where you are. They know who you are, and if there's someone there who's not familiar, they interrogate, and but they do respect you, and they let you go and preach the good word of God to the people who will accept it there. Heard some funny stories about those areas, and I was in some areas similar to that as well. But as for demographics and things like that, streets sometimes don't have a name. Houses don't have numbers. People just build wherever, and the government tells you you can't do that, and they tear it down, or they evacuate you. Or there's a lot of buildings that have been evacuated. Lights, gas, water have been shut off, and typically Bolivian families actually move in to those houses. Somehow they get some water and electricity into there, but they don't pay rent unless it's kind of rigged in that system. But they live in there, and so you'll enter some places that you might, especially living in the United States, you might deem as dirty, filthy, or kind of just dark. But remember, you have the light of Christ, and so do they, and there's light in you as a missionary, and you can make those dark places light. You'll be able to map out your area. They have, if you're in the city, they have guilletes, which is just like a map book. It's really, really, really nice to have. You'll have an area map in your apartment, most likely, and you'll be able to find yourself around. Like you can expect most in any mission, you'll be walking a lot, and you'll get to know your area like the back of your hand, and you'll be talking to a lot of people, so you'll get to know what are good areas, what are bad areas, where to be at certain times. And there is an awesome system as well in the city called in English it's the subway. And the subway is great. There is a lot of history to the subway as well. There's actually one train still running. It's been revamped a little bit, but they still have the original wood on the walls of the first subway in Buenos Aires. And the subways are fun to take. You can take them most anywhere in the city, that is your main source of transportation. Anywhere else, you have these things called colectivos, which are called different things in different areas of Argentina and different parts of South America. But they're basically buses, and you get on there, you pay some coins, and you have your guide, your map guide, and you know where the bus drops you off, and you kind of navigate yourself with the bus system there, as well as if you have a little bit more cash, you can get taxis, or you can get kind of some knockoff taxis, which are called remises. And you get to meet people. You get to meet lots of people in all those opportunities, all those forms of transportation. But like I said, there's a lot of walking. I went through 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, and I had Echo brand, and those went through those. 2 of those. Buenos Aires is a great city. Just like anywhere in the world, people, there's a lot of good people, and you just got to kind of be in the real world a little bit as well. I'd recommend actually watching Evita before you go. It's a musical, but it's about a political figure in Argentina who they revere and or hate, and you will see her face on a lot of buildings and with protests, and in the capital. I served in the capital, where the obelisco is, the big obelisk tower and the widest road in the world is. That was my area, and there's a lot of cool museums there. If you get lucky and you have a companion who wants to go to museums as well, you can go, assuming that that's all right with the mission president's current rules. And there's a lot of history to be absorbed. There's a lot of dark history in Argentina. A lot of people don't trust. It's difficult for them sometimes to give out personal information, even to this day, especially for someone who they don't know, because not even a generation ago, there was a massive, I don't know what you would call it, but basically people would get kidnapped off of their doorsteps and tortured and or killed. The government would kill a lot of people, and if you were posing to one side or the other, I'd recommend researching that a little bit. In some of my areas, you would walk past different museums, and they would be like the torture houses or the places where they kept people. You'll notice when you take trains, which are different than subways and colectivos, when you take trains, a lot of times they have chalk figures of people, and they're the missing people. There's still people missing from that horrific experience that happened to the country, and it's sad. And I'd recommend researching that before you go there, just so you can understand the people, because they have been through a lot, and they need a lot of love. I did watch a documentary on the history of Argentina, and this I don't know what they call it, but just what happened to their country. BYU Library has a few DVDs. It can be a little, at least in the documentary that I watched, it can be a little eye-opening, shall we say, just kind of the really horrible things that would happen. But as for exactly what happened, I can't remember too well. I did watch the documentary a few years ago, and I haven't refreshed my memory since. But in Buenos Aires itself, the sewer system is the same sewer system that they made when the city was built, established. So when it rains, the sewer overfloods, and there was a time, it was actually a week before I went into the area, the capital flooded. And when I say flooded, I mean that the missionaries lived on the second or third floor, and they had to swim home to their apartment, which was in water as well. Water damage everywhere. The first floor of all the buildings were completely underwater, and cars were floating. People were in rafts, motorized rafts going through the city. That's how flooded it got. So you might swim on your mission, whether you like it or not. There's a lot of hail, size of golf balls. Biggest one I saw was maybe tennis ball. Just get into undercover when that happens. It doesn't snow, but it gets incredibly cold, humid cold, and so cold that on our mission we weren't provided with very good heaters at all. They're more like just lights. So as much as these lights are providing heat, that's like the heaters that the mission would buy us. And I got sick for 2 months, just sick, because it was just so cold. I would sleep with my church clothes on, a few pairs of socks, beanie, anything that would cover my face, in a below zero sleeping bag with 3 blankets over me, and my thermals, and a jacket or 2, and I'd still be freezing. It would just cut right through it. So anything you can do to make yourself not cold during the wintertime is probably great. The wind's pretty icy cold, just so you know.